We just spent the last of our money on an upside-down, hurricane-damaged catamaran.
We're doing it, baby!
We're doing it!
The crane that's flipping it arrives in the morning, and if we don't have it ready, it costs $10,000 a day for the crane to wait, and that's money we don't have. So the last 3 days, we've been frantically prepping the boat. Taking out the trash, pumping out all the nasty sludge and muddy diesel water, collecting hardware and salvaging everything we can, patching holes, cutting mangroves, disconnecting rigging, and working as fast as we can on minimal sleep. But the night before the crane comes, we find something that is absolutely gut-wrenching. Diesel had drained out of the fuel tanks and flooded the ceilings on both sides of the boat. This damn boat. Don't know what we're doing, man. This is all up under the floors. Right there, that trough goes all the way under the ceiling, all the way up there to the diesel tanks. There's diesel under every floorboard. Or, I say floorboard, but I'm talking about the ceiling is stained and needs to be replaced. Half of them need new wood because they're all saturated in diesel. With the crane arriving in the morning, we knew there was no way to get this cleaned up in time. And if they flipped it now, mud and diesel would rain from the ceiling. And the real question is, can we even clean this up properly without cutting out all the floors, cabinets, and ceilings? Will this boat ever be the same? It was midnight, day 3. We had just found the diesel in the ceiling, and the crane was arriving in the morning. So floating diesel. Yep. Let's vacuum it out. So this is how every cabin has been flooded with diesel. As you can see, it's about 2 inches thick. It is nasty shit, but we've been drilling holes, flushing it out best we can. The shower ceiling was the lowest part of the boat, so this is where all that nasty sludge had been collecting and brewing over the last few weeks. You can see the water line on the wall to see how high it actually was, so we pumped and even drilled holes in the side of the wall and in the ceiling, which revealed more places this nasty concoction was trapped. Obviously this was a curveball and our minds were racing about this newfound issue. No matter how hard we worked, we finally came to the realization around 3 a.m. that this was not going to get done before the crane showed up in the morning. The diesel in the ceiling was pretty sickening because for one, we didn't know if we were going to be able to clean it out, and secondly, if we don't get it out, is it going to take a toll on our health long term if there's diesel sitting in the walls?
And it wasn't just diesel, it was also water and anything else that got in the boat when it took its tumble during the hurricane. So just from sitting stagnant from the last few weeks, there was algae and bacteria, and it was leaving a nasty scum on the walls. So if this crane was pressuring us to flip the boat sooner rather than later, there was no way we were going to properly be able to clean everything up before the boat was flipped.
And if they did make us flip it before we prepped it properly, then we were gonna have a massive restoration on our hands to get this boat back in livable condition. We'd probably have to cut out ceilings and walls. So our stress levels were about as high as they could get because we wanted this boat to be prepped properly. Around 3 a.m. we decided to go back to the boat to re-up on caffeine and just try to get our minds right and stay in the ball game. Thank God.
Tell them the news.
Well, we got back to the boat and we got Wi-Fi here, and when we checked the phone, we got a text saying that the crane is delayed. So this is good news for us. We are pumped about that, which means we got a whole nother day to prep the boat and get it ready because there's still so many things that we gotta get done. If you're like me and have a million projects on your mind and you go to sleep, your mind races. I cannot shut my brain off when I go to sleep. I'm thinking about projects. I'm thinking about everything I gotta do to the catamaran, everything I gotta do to this boat, what we're gonna do with this boat, because we need to sell this boat to pay for the refit of that boat. So we're just juggling a lot of stuff right now, and it takes a toll on my sleep. The good news is recently we have found a solution. And that means this is the perfect time to thank this week's sponsor. And that is Beam, who makes Dream. This stuff is crazy magical. Like, we don't like to promote a bunch of products on here. We actually like to test them out. So originally when they reached out, we were like, And then they were like, you know what, just take this and try it and let me know if you like it. So we got the package, Sasha poured me a cup, and I have never slept better in my life. I'm telling you, I went to that crazy place that these scientists call REM. It was like I got 12 hours of REM sleep even though I slept for 4 hours, and there was no like lag. I didn't feel lackadaisical. It's like my eyes just like popped open and boom, I was ready to go. Like the sleep was amazing, and that is why we're doing this product placement, because I feel like you guys deserve to know about this secret that I don't want to hold back from anyone. After that 1 cup, I was sold. In fact, it was almost like panic mode as soon as I ran out. I was like, Sasha, we got to get more Beam out here. Additionally, it tastes amazing. It literally tastes like hot chocolate, but it's healthy apparently. It's got like reishi mushroom, a pigeon. I don't know the ingredients, but chocolate, peanut butter, and brownie battered flavor. It doesn't get better than this. Good news. If you use our code ANIMALS at checkout, you will get up to 35% off of your order of Dream by Beam. So check it out, give it a whirl. I'm gonna down this because we have a very long day tomorrow. I need my sleep, and we've got to get this boat prepped before this crane gets here. Thank you, Beam, for sponsoring this video.
Gotta cut these mangroves. Next.
It is a very dull chainsaw.
Not anymore.
Our friend's back. Honey, you got another friend.
These guys talk to me.
While our main concern is the diesel in the ceilings, there's still a lot of things we have to get done before this crane shows up. Things that are outside the boat and require sunlight. So we're gonna attack those first and see how far we get, because we can always turn on some lights inside the boat and work through the night to get the diesel out.
Well, we're trying to recall what day it is, but I think it's day 4. Day 3 or 4.
We are about to, when they lift the boat up, they're gonna hoist it up sideways, set it down on one side in the water, and then tilt it over. So we gotta make sure and plug all the holes. We have this underwater repair epoxy by Total Boat. We're about to use this to plug up all these holes so that everything stays dry.
Yeah, so we're gonna start with that and then keep chugging because we have 1 day left before this crane comes. Okay.
Equal parts, 50-50.
Now you can drill and machine and tap underwater with this stuff.
Tap.
It says it's supposed to become hard enough that you can tap it.
Sweet. This is the hole we are dealing with right here.
And then we'll probably end up just cutting that out, right?
That's permanent, Sasha. See anything else?
Besides up here in the front, that's actually, yeah.
Round 2 of trying to jimmy rig this sail drive hole. So we have our silicone sandwich down there, which is still wet. Look at that. All right, back up in the engine compartment. We didn't torque these bolts down all the way yet, and that's because we wanted the silicone to cure, and then we wanted to tighten it down to create a stronger seal. And I know silicone isn't the right thing to do, but it's a temporary deal to get us to the boatyard. But as I'm torquing, you can see the silicone squeezing out the sides, which means it did not cure and our silicone was bad. However, it is torqued so tight and there's such a thick gasket, probably a 2-inch gasket of silicone in there, that it's probably gonna be fine. However, we just don't know how long this boat needs to float for. So I cut out a piece of fiberglass, which used to be on the ceiling of our boat, and now it is under the hull. This thing's gonna be pretty permanent. While I continued to patch holes, Sasha started the tedious process of removing the ceiling panels so we could have access to remove the diesel. This was a very time-consuming process because the panels were held together with a combination of hidden French cleats, 1,000 screws, and they were put together like a puzzle, meaning she would have to label them and organize the hardware so we would know how to install them back in the future.
Well, I just finished all the floors here on the port side, both guest cabins, both bathrooms, the hallway. Glad I did. There's some water underneath some of them, so it would have made some of the panels wet eventually, but glad we're cleaning it. Also, it's gonna be easier now that they're off to replace the liner on top, and then we'll put them back up. Pretty empty. This is the ceiling. Now go time to do the owner side.
While Sasha was inside delicately removing the ceiling panels, I was in a fierce battle with the mangroves, which aren't just roots. They're a tangled mess of wooden tentacles that seem to multiply the more you cut them. You cut one, it laughs at you, and then 17 show up like you just killed their leader. And then there you are, just sitting there scratching your head, wondering how the hell do I get this one stick out of here? Well, at first I used precision, and then I basically had a temper tantrum and started cutting anything and everything in sight, which felt good but didn't seem to help. And that's because they don't just grow, they plot for decades, waiting for some dumb idiot to walk up with a chainsaw and try to remove a catamaran. You can tell I built up quite the grudge, and that's for good reasons. Because what happens in the mangroves should stay in the mangroves, but unfortunately I have to document my life, so I'll have to relive this nightmare one more time. It all happened when I was nearly done. I missed one. Just one. I mean, I didn't miss it, but I didn't cut it short enough. And there it was, 1.5 feet tall, standing extremely proud, and perfectly vertical. I'm pretty sure I could hear it whisper hi on the way in. In a matter of seconds, I saw my ancestors, questioned my sexuality, and battled a newfound lisp. Good news was that my pants remained unbroken, but my soul shattered. But we had a boat to prep, so I had to take it like a woman and shake it off.
What'd you do?
I sat on a stick right in my goose.
Oh my god, I thought you cut your finger off or something.
Feels worse.
So Ruff is in the mangroves, chopping them all apart so we can get access to the generator, water maker, check that all out, and be able to squeeze some straps under here when the crane comes to pick it up. Wow, it's like a little cubby hole under here. We should make this a little fort.
Yeah, you're sleeping here tonight, so no one steals the gin.
Never mind, it brings me back to my childhood. So we can get access to the generator now?
Yeah. You want to check it out?
Yeah, let's check it out. Maybe this will explain our water. Well, this is a moment of truth. Good? Okay. Oh, that's not, oh, wait. Okay, I got it.
Yeah, lower. That.
There was a lot of water in there.
Yeah, you just wanted to let it pour on me, huh?
Well, you looked a little warm. Well, this thing has 300 hours on it.
Hopefully the electrical box wasn't sitting in all that water.
Another big locker in here. This is where that water is.
Yeah, that's the trough.
Yeah.
So when we flush it out, that's where we will need to,
Collect it.
right? So that it doesn't go into that bathroom like it's been doing, right?
Yeah.
All right, while Sasha is taking off all of our ceiling tiles, I'm about to disconnect the rigging. I'm gonna disassemble this mast. Never done it before, we're gonna try. Whoa. As you can see, there's still a lot of tension on this rig, and it's important that we take it all apart so the crane's not waiting for us and can just lift it up and set it on the boat. Right now I'm at the top of the mast and I'm 8 feet off the ground. This job in itself is probably a day's worth of work, and we're probably gonna have to cut the mast in half because it's so bent, which is gonna have to wait for tomorrow because we worked until the sun went down and then had to move inside to work on the diesel.
Well, we just finished pulling up all the ceiling panels, and we're finding some holes in the ceiling where we can actually see where the diesel has been running through the ceiling. There's a couple areas where it collected in certain areas and then it drains all the way down.
So after Sasha removed the ceiling panels and we got a better look at it, we realized that the diesel wasn't as big of a problem as what we originally thought. Don't get me wrong, it was still a massive setback, but we saw the possibility of actually being able to clean this thing out.
So how did the diesel even get in the ceiling? Well, when the looters stole the engines, they didn't even bother to undo the hose clamps. They just took a razor blade and cut the fuel lines in half and tried to steal whatever diesel was left. Well, somewhere along the lines, those fuel lines ended up hanging in the engine compartment, and whatever diesel was left in the tanks drained right into the boat.
So if you look at the boat, you have the engine compartment, the bow locker, and then you have the deck, which is like the roof. Well, in the living areas, you have a false ceiling with a 4-inch gap beneath it. And this is for running wires and for screwing the ceiling panels too. Well, the diesel tanks are located on the high side of the boat, so when they stole the engines and cut the gas lines, all the diesel ran down into the ceiling, all the way down to the low side of the boat. Well, the first ceiling panel we took off was at the lowest side of the boat, so we thought the whole ceiling was flooded, when in reality, only about maybe 10 to 15% of the ceiling was flooded, and the other 85% was completely dry on the back side of the ceiling panels. Additionally, after doing some more research, we found some even better news. So let's look at it from the top side. So this is the area where the nasty diesel water was collecting. When the diesel was draining out of the tanks, it was going into the ceiling and traveling down the lowest spot, which was a legitimate channel that contained the diesel river. Whereas originally we thought the diesel just flooded the ceiling and it was everywhere.
Well, this was awesome news for us and gave us quite a bit of hope. The plan now was to take a bunch of soapy water, pour it in on the high side of the boat, and let gravity do its work. So the soapy water would run down the channels, flood the low side of the boat, and we would rinse and repeat.
So what we're gonna do right now is I'm gonna shop back in there. You can see collection, there's some over here, and there are a couple other areas as well. So we're gonna go and clean that up first, flush it with some soapy water, and hopefully get that greasy residue of the diesel out. Okay, so Raf made a discovery all the way in this back corner. That is where all the diesel seems to start leaking from. So we made a funnel with a hose and a water bottle, and we're gonna funnel it back there and then run it all the way down to the bow of the boat. Oh, and I hear it dripping into the salon.
Yeah.
See it?
Yep, right there. But you can see down here, see it all running?
Oh yeah, nice.
Hopefully that stuff will lift it, and you can see all those diesel particles floating.
There you go.
2 more bucketfuls of water. We began pouring buckets and buckets of heavily concentrated cleaner down these troughs, letting it flow down like a cleansing river and collect at the lowest point. Oh yeah, the river of clean. Okay, so this is the lowest corner of the boat, and the trough is right there. You can see the diesel particles floating, which is exactly what we want. We're letting the water build up so that it's as high as when the diesel and water mixture was originally, so it gets everything off the walls. And then we're gonna vacuum it. But we think that it was going into the generator compartment, so we're gonna go look now to see if we were right. The trough is full of purple stuff. So right now we're about to let this sit and soak for about probably 30 minutes. We're gonna run back to the boat and fill up another cooler full of water and a couple buckets. Then we're gonna pump out all that nasty stuff, and then we're gonna do it to the other side.
We don't want diesel in our ceilings because it makes me sneeze like crazy and have trouble breathing, so that would not be a good thing.
Yeah. 11 o'clock at night, and we just filled up the water jugs, and we are heading back out right now.
I'm so beat, but I gotta pull through. Okay, go. Come on, we got this. I'm hyping myself up.
When we got back to the boat, we rinsed and rinsed and rinsed until the water was starting to look clean. However, around 3 a.m., we were out of water again and realized that there was no way we could finish the rest of the boat tonight, which means we were gonna have to stall the crane even if it costs us a heavy fine. The next morning, we popped our heads out of the portholes to look for the crane and didn't see it anywhere in the anchorage or at the docks, which was very relieving. It could still pull up any moment, but we also knew that they had been at sea for 3 days, so we were hoping that when they pull up, they would not only have to clear customs, but maybe want to push the crane back until tomorrow. Alright guys, last and final day here. We are all just beat up, hands, feet, bodies, like, you know the mornings you wake up and you just don't even want to like squeeze your hands, and like you just got so many cuts everywhere, it's just freaking pain. But we gotta put up or shut up, so today's the day. The crane is supposed to be pulling in any minute. We wish we had a few more days, but ain't no rest for the wicked, baby. We're leaving our water maker on because we are probably gonna dump 200 gallons of fresh water into the bottom of this boat. Final day, let's get it. Yeehaw!
Onward.
Yeah, baby.
Last day!
night we ended the night after flushing the ceilings in both holes. And so now we let that sit overnight. We're gonna flush it out with some vinegar water and just
remove any debris.
And yeah.
Wash it on down.
We moved all the ceiling panels out of the way before we started our freshwater rinse. And as for freshwater, well, that was a whole nother challenge in itself.
It's flowing.
We scavenged a couple jerry cans from the mangrove debris, and between those, our ice chest, and a couple of buckets, we managed to lug over a decent amount of fresh water to start with.
And then it's all coming out right here. It looks like really clean.
Our freshwater supply didn't last long, but we were making some serious progress with the diesel in the ceilings, and we were starting to feel a lot better about salvaging this boat.
A lot cleaner. Yeah, you can see the oil bubbles on the surface. They're all floating. Okay, now to vacuum out the water in the vinegar mixture. Getting every last drop out. Yep, as you can see, this is the lowest point, so it all runs here. It's a lot cleaner now, and there's still some bubbles and stuff that have run down, so this is good. I would think we're getting 98% of all the crud that was in here. Next thing we're gonna do is remove the last of the headboards. That's just these exterior ones right here on the outside, and that way we can start hosing down the bottom. We worked from the top down. We're going to remove any holes out in the roof here just to see if we can have any more access points, like all these little vents and stuff. And we're gonna start just saturating the floor, and it should all run down to here where we can collect it. Also, there's some nasty stuff in that beam. Here you can see there's a hole where we can look up in there and spray a jet up inside. This one doesn't have it, so we're probably gonna have to cut a hole out right there. Maybe another one down there so we can have better access. It's the next step.
We began removing all the panel covers, light fixtures, and speakers in the cockpit area before moving inside to remove all the ceiling panels. We loaded everything up on the dinghy to move it out of our way and get it to the storage island later on. Initially, we were taking these ceiling panels off to make it easier to clean, but what we uncovered was nasty.
So we're picking up these ceiling trim panels. There's diesel and oil and everything in here, and also it's collected in the trough area. Nasty.
Our theory is that with the hurricane surge, the boat had at least a few feet of water inside. When that surge went out, all that nasty diesel, gunky, mangrove water ended up getting caught in these troughs. So removing these panels was a blessing in disguise.
Okay, so we have buckets of water. We have this battle-born battery that we took out of our boat. And we have some bilge pumps and washdown pumps that we rigged up with some wire. So we are about to set up a washdown pump and hopefully harness some of the water that's left in the water tanks of this boat to just try to flood the base and spray it all down and let it soak. Yep, it's running.
We discovered a couple days ago that this water tank is actually full. So we're gonna try to pull some water. This might make a huge mess. Nice.
You are 60% up the bucket.
You don't want to stop it?
A little more.
Oh.
You got this, Sasha.
I think that's good. Close.
Yep.
Help me.
Gotcha. Harnessing the water out of this tank was super inefficient. It probably took about 5 minutes to fill up one bucket, which means we're gonna have to figure out a way to bring it all from our boat. Let's see if she works. I've got this nozzle on here, which should save water and create a high pressure stream. So we're gonna connect this. That is powerful too. Hell yeah. Degreaser in the pressure washing.
But like, yeah, that's it.
A little bit of Dawn. Wow.
Getting all excited about it moving forward.
Oh my gosh, we just used half a bucket.
It's going down.
That's it.
That is it.
Bingo, look at that. Oh, dude, I see hope. I see hope, because I was scared we weren't going to be able to get into all these places. It's not just on the ground, it's up top here too. So we have to spray the roof of everything and the floor of everything. We really need to go get a ton of water. We might need to fill up our whole dinghy with water. Well, our jimmy-rigged washdown pump really took some weight off our shoulders. We were concerned because there's still a lot of debris and mud wedged into cracks and crevices that are hard to reach. And with this new contraption, we should be able to clean it out really well. And some more good news was that the crane was still not here, which means we should have till the rest of this day to really flush out the boat and make sure that it's prepped properly. All I can say is thank God for island time.
We are heading back to the boat now after our lunch break, and we filled up with a whole bunch of water. I think we have like 70 gallons of water in the dinghy right now. Well, we borrowed a huge water bladder, which is like 58 gallons. We did however many that is, however many this is.
6 gallons.
And then in the ice chest as well. So we're about to go head back to the boat and just flush it out.
And the worst thing is, someone said the crane was delayed until Tuesday and gave me a rum and coke. Then we had 4 rum and cokes, and now I'm sauced, and then we got a text saying, actually the crane changed their mind, it's coming in the morning.
Yeah, he went to go give somebody oil, and I'm sitting on the boat for an hour wondering where in the world he's at. 4 rum and cokes later. Yep.
Time to work. Not cool. All right, so we switched our setup up. We have a big bladder. So we have the battery here and the water pump inside, and then we're running the hose inside of the boat from here. Now we got a ton of water to work with. We're gonna hose it out and then fill up these with degreaser, spray that in there, let it sit, and then hose it out again. Probably repeat the process after that again. That's the lowest side of the boat, so we've been spraying everything, all the big stuff down that way from both ends, and then vacuuming it out. And I think after this run, we've got the majority of all the big stuff done. We made some holes, those 3 holes there, which allowed us to spray inside this beam and clean it all. This is going pretty good, and we might finish this thing tonight. It is 1:30 in the morning, and the crane comes tomorrow.
Tomorrow, from 9 to 12, supposedly is when the boat's gonna be lifted.
We crushed it. Come on. Can you reach?
Yeah.
Good job. It was finally the day the crane showed up. We peeped our heads out and could see it on the horizon. At first glance, it's not what I was expecting, and I thought it looked a little bit small. But I don't know jack shit about cranes, and apparently this one can extend. We sent the crane company drone shots, the dimensions, the net tonnage, and the owner of the company even came out a few weeks ago and laid eyes on our boat in person and assured us that his crane could do the job. Of course, they still had to clear customs and said we would try to flip the boat after lunch. So Sasha and I took off in a hurry to go do some last-minute prep work.
Day
Home again.
6.
Or day 67. Shoot!
Here, hold this.
Camera's rolling.
What's up, guys? Didn't know you were there. Had a little cheek, dude.
I'm gonna put that in the episode. I'm literally crying right now. That was the funniest thing.
The chances of that happening. She handed me the camera and I just somehow miraculously was holding it, filming my face, and gave you guys the natural look of one of my farts and had no clue I was filming myself.
I'm gonna save that one for the memory books. Ouch.
It's been a while since someone's laughed around here. It's funny how a little fart can make the day. You ready?
I'm ready.
We got a lot of work to do before we even work. Look at this. All these things are heavy. We got to take it that way.
Okay. So I farted. So last night we were up till about 2 a.m. cleaning up the inside of the salon, and as you can tell, it is very clean. We managed to get the majority of the debris out, the dirt. So now what we're gonna focus on is the cockpit area. Ralph's gonna spray in the holes and it all ends up collecting over here. So what we've done is put towels.
We hit that side with soap and
Yeah.
all the beams and everything's clean in there, but that's also the lowest part of the boat. So that's why she made that dam of towels down there, because when we wash this stuff down, it'll stop it so that it doesn't roll down into the lowest part of the boat that we just cleaned.
And then we'll vacuum it up there, keep flushing it till it's clean, and we should be done. Okay, let's get to it.
I really wish we would have showed you before what this looked like, because it looks really clean now compared to what it was. So that is the inside, and before it was like seriously muddy and diesel-y, and we haven't even cleaned this side like we did the other one. This is the side that we are still gonna clean, so if you did see some debris down there, it's all gonna be cleaned out, and then it's gonna be sprayed with some super soapy water, and then that's gonna be cleaned out, and then it should be just like the other side. Before spraying out the insides, there was a thick black coat of diesel, mud, leaves, and debris coating everything. You couldn't even see the fiberglass. The transformation was unbelievable, and now the internals of this boat are looking spotless. This boat is diesel and leaf free. We have literally cut access holes in certain areas to make sure that every piece of mud and debris and stick and diesel is all washed out and clean from the cabins to the salon. So I'm not gonna lie, we wanted to turn away and just like, I don't even want this boat anymore, but we did what was necessary, and the boat is as good as you can get it.
Might actually be a little cleaner than when it left the factory, because we've also flushed out all the dust as well.
There was a lot of dust and little fiberglass particles and shards and all that stuff there too, so it might be cleaner for sure. We packed up and went back to the boat, and then got a phone call from the crane company saying they wanted to meet us at the Catamaran to discuss a game plan. She is pretty much prepped and ready. A little bit of water, but yeah, that is clean. Every part of it is. She's ready to be flipped. The crane operators just came out here and we talked, and man, we're hurting. I don't know how long it's been, maybe 8 straight days, probably getting 4 hours of sleep, just sun up to sundown, cranking on this boat, prepping it, because a crane is $10,000 a day, and that's only if you have other jobs lined up for it. If that crane were to come here for one job, it could be anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000. So we heard the crane was coming up to do multiple jobs, so we were really trying to get our boat ready. They wanted to drag the entire boat this way. First of all, we were told that they would pick the boat straight up and it wouldn't cause any more damage. They get here and then they wanted us to flatten all these mangroves with the chainsaw, then tilt the boat over so that the side of the boat would be in the water, and throw some tires there. But that means when it tilts, the entire load, the weight of the boat, is gonna be on this. And they said that they don't have any liability in the damages but it's probably gonna rip the roof off. And I was like, that's not okay. The crane is too small. So we canceled. We're also stressing because we just cut all these mangroves out, and now the generator and the water maker and all that is accessible for someone to take. Not to mention, some of these bigger mangroves, we're actually taking the load off of this. So the longer the boat sits like this, the more the fiberglass hardtop could settle and the more damage caused. So at this point, it might be another 2 or 3 weeks until we get a crane out here.
I'm sure you guys are feeling just as much stress and anxiety as we are about flipping this boat because nothing seems to be going right. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and leave us a comment. We do read every single comment and we really appreciate all of your guys' input and support.
And as always, we want to give a massive thanks to our patrons. You have no idea how much your continued support means to us, especially right now. We need you guys. Thank you so much, and we will see you next episode on Spirit Animal.